Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's a Tuesday night and I am ready to party. Let's friggin' go. Let's freaking go, baby. We have a lot to talk about tonight, right? So obviously it's interesting from this perspective. So we have the live streams, we have regular videos, and then we have regular videos, and we have the live streams, and then we have the community post, and then all of this. We have still yet to talk about this Jalen Shead rumor, right? That he is no longer a part of the program. So obviously we'll touch on that tonight. Obviously, we're going to go through each and everything that Ed Orgeron said at SEC Media Days. Obviously, he gets a different type of question when there's a more diverse group of media. And honestly, from a football perspective, and I think a PHL perspective, based on everything that you guys watched, as we say hi to Mike, we say hi to Big Al, we say hi to Mario, we say hi to Rai in Canada, and we got to say hi to Leonard, and we also got to say hi to Roger, who got a shout out in our video earlier today, because Roger's the one that hooked me up with this. How cool is this right here? I never actually had a copy of The Advocate after the national championship game. Roger, that really is cool, man. So obviously we have a lot, and I mean a lot to get to, including a pretty big announcement a little bit later about these things. We got a few of for sale, and we'll get to that in just a second. So obviously Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat is the best way to get to your topic. Whatever you Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat, we immediately go to your topic. It could be anything LSU football related. During the last show, I was forced with a Super Chat to give my Mount Rushmore of modern LSU football players, and I think some of that has actually changed. What's up, Preston? It's obviously a lot to get to tonight. So I want to start with Ed Orgeron overall at SEC Media Days yesterday. And of course, they asked him about all the serious stuff going on at LSU off the field. And he basically said what you would expect him to say. It is an ongoing investigation, which it is. Now, as far as the actual football is concerned, Ed Orgeron, of course, he gave you the vanilla answer there as well, such as, well, Myles or Max, we feel both of them are championship level quarterbacks. And this tends to happen a lot in the media, right? Everybody wants the coach to give an answer that you already know the answer to, right? So you knew when you asked Ed Orgeron about Myles, Brennan, or Max Johnson, of course the question is going to be asked. It needs to be asked. It's the biggest story heading into LSU this next season, who the quarterback is going to be. I think, of course, you have to ask it, but when Ed Orgeron says, well, they're both championship level quarterbacks and doesn't actually pick one, you just kind of have to move on, right? So I had a lot of people send me Ed Orgeron's answer regarding the actual quarterback battle. But this is so key, and I think a lot of us do this whenever it comes. And look, I've been to a lot of press conferences, being a member of the LSU media for such a long time, and I'm used to getting these vanilla answers. But whenever you actually get specificity, it's very important, right? It's very interesting. Whenever you get specificity, I cannot say this enough, people. Specificity is rare in press conferences. And guess what happened in yesterday's press conference? Of course, it's nothing that a lot of the reporters are going to tweet about, but it should be the biggest story. And the biggest story from yesterday was that Ed Orgeron said that we must stop the explosive plays. And guess what? He got even more specific about two huge philosophical changes that the LSU defense is going to bring, right? The first is obviously they're going to keep everything in front of them, right? We're going to play more conservatively with our coverage. what did we talk about last week? I showed you in 4 different games where LSU forced their safeties into the box, and we were killed because of it. And it made no sense to bring a safety into the box in every one of those scenarios. Then Ed Orgeron was asked about Neil Farrell. Also, Ed Orgeron is changing his philosophy as far as his defensive line is concerned, which is something else we've brought up on this channel, that they need to rotate their defensive line more often. Too many times last year, you saw the LSU defensive line, particularly at defensive tackle, just kind of sort of give up because they were too exhausted. There is no need to 3-down your defensive line. So to me, those are the 2 biggest takeaways, because those 2 answers provided specificity for us on this channel, stuff that we have been talking about for quite some time. So we are really looking forward to it. We added Delton, Big Perm. What's good? What kind of name is Big Perm? I love it, baby. LSU win total 8.5. Over under who you got. Yeah, that seems a little low, right? 8.5. God, 8.5. That is wild. That means that Vegas sees LSU as basically an 8-4 or 9-3 team, which is about how I see them. I see LSU as a 9-3 roster for right now. I see a 9-3 roster with the potential to be 10-2 and 11-1. And of course, if everything goes your way, you can be 12-0. Does this roster have a ceiling for 12-0? Yes. Last year's roster didn't have a ceiling for 10-0. Yeah, exactly, Esteban. That is by far Ed Orgeron's best attribute. And nothing really comes close. It's not even his recruiting. That's probably his best skill set, but his best attribute is that he is pretty progressive when it comes to changing up a few things about his coaching philosophy. And yes, we are in it for the long haul, people. So we're going to need those Venmos, Cash Apps, Super Chats tonight. And of course, the Booger bracelets will be on sale a little bit later in the live chat. And you get CZ a little bit later. We say hi to Mo Funky. Yeah, and we'll play more zone coverage too. And obviously the poll question tonight. John Emery. Oh, you want a bracelet, Esteban? Okay, we'll get those out. Haley currently has them right now. And they are also going to be very affordable. Let's see. And that will definitely help out the channel in so many different ways. Let's see. Also, let's get into the Jalen Shead story just for a little bit, because I'm actually working on a deep dive with the Jalen Shead story. TJ, it is great. Now, I'll tell you this. Z is a little bit tougher to deal with because she is a puppy. So when I started hanging out with Boog, she was already 9 years old, and she was just mellowed out Boog. So yeah, we'll see. Let's go, Aaron. What's good, my guy? Cliff the Prez is here. So I want to. Here's the thing about Jalen Shead, right? And this was really fascinating. I went and ran the data of LSU tight ends, and this will probably be the video for tomorrow. Cheryl, what's good? Clint, what's good? The video for tomorrow, more than likely tomorrow, will be surrounding the tight end position. So if Cole Taylor takes a snap, okay, all Cole Taylor has to do next season is take a snap. That'll be the first time since 2014 an LSU out-of-state tight end has played more than one season at LSU. Now, Grant, what's good? Black Mamba. Huh? I love that name. As an Alabama fan, I love your channel. It's a little bit different on here. I do welcome Alabama fans on this channel. One of our most loyal viewers is an Auburn fan, or Vernon. It's interesting. I like, outside the box thinkers. What's up, Cliff? For the lawn guy. Fenard. I love Fenard. Thank you so much, Cliff. We appreciate it. Yeah, the lawn guy. And so many of you guys said I shouldn't be allowing. I don't know. We're not going to get into the lawn discussion yet. But anyway, I pulled up this data here. So Jalen Shead, Cole Taylor, Eric Gilbert, TK McClendon, Zach Sheffer, Thad Moss, Hanner Shipley. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all Cole Taylor has to do is play a snap, and he will be the first tight end out of the last 7 out-of-state tight ends LSU has recruited that has played more than one season at LSU. Now, Thaddeus Moss was at LSU for 3 years, but he only played the final year. And that's wild. That's absolutely wild. So, long story short, I don't want to spoil the video for tomorrow, but LSU should not have used a slot on Jalen Shead to begin with. Now, it's one thing if, let's just say theoretically, that Garrett Dellinger is just, and I'm only using him as an example, he's locked in. In fact, he's going to play next season as a true freshman. But let's just say Garrett Dellinger said, look, I'm packing my bags, I'm homesick, and I want to go back to Michigan. Okay, that would obviously suck, but it was worth using a slot on a top 100 offensive lineman. However, it is not worth using a slot to begin with on a tight end who was the 61st ranked tight end in all of high school football, right? Especially when you took 2 tight ends the year before and you thought of Jack Besh as a potential tight end as well. So this will be a lesson for LSU. Out-of-state tight ends do not play more than one season at LSU. Anyway, the last 7 haven't, unless Cole Taylor, of course, plays a snap, which he's going to start next season. So he will be the only tight end that has played multiple years that wasn't from the state of Louisiana. It's wild. It is absolutely wild. And what I would do if I were LSU moving forward is you look in the past. You look at these John David Moore types. You look at these Foster Moreau types. These guys were legit the last recruits to get into the class, and they were both really good football players, and in particular Foster Moreau. So that's part of it. I think another problem with LSU's tight ends, and this dates back to the Les Miles era, is they don't really have a defined role, right? And something else about tight ends is that only one tight end plays at a time, especially now in the modern LSU offense. So from this point forward, you should only use your capital on tight ends that really deserve to be a part of the LSU program. And honestly, you go look at Jalen Shead's tape. He is an amazing athlete. He does have a basketball background, but most of his tape anyway was him playing middle linebacker. So there would have been a huge learning curve. Now, here's the thing. Was there another tight end that LSU could have targeted? There was, and he was in the state of Louisiana. His name was Shield Taylor. Now, obviously, I don't know how much LSU recruited him. That's where, I stop, my analysis, because I don't know what actually happened. But by all accounts, it looks as if he was not offered by LSU. And I looked at Shield Taylor's tape, and it was, I'm just being honest. When I looked at it a few months ago to where I looked at it now, and this was actually about a month ago, I was pretty impressed. Not going to lie. He was pretty decent. Now, he wasn't Gronk. He wasn't Eric Gilbert, but the son of a gun could block, and that's basically what you're looking for with Jalen Shead. So, yeah. Let's see. Just watch a Dan Mullen video. LSU actually has 26 slots next year, unless they grab someone from the portal before the season. So do they have 26 slots? I thought that they only had 25 because they used 25 for this last class. Let's see. By the way, Cliff, you get to pick the next topic. It is your super chat, but you knew that already. You're the president. Heard Cole Taylor's up to 250 now. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Obviously, Ed Orgeron, once again, whenever you hear coaches' press conferences, you have to take away specific things. That's why questions are so important. When you get a vague question like, how do you feel about your team going into next season? That obviously doesn't do any good. But whenever a coach provides specificity, so during the spring, Ed Orgeron said that I'm going to work with the tight ends to get them better at blocking. That's a big thing with Cole Taylor. As a receiver, we still haven't really seen it just yet outside of a loose shoe. But really his blocking is what really, really, really was a problem in his 2 games that he started last season. If he can become a better blocker, he's going to play a lot. But that's the thing. We'll see. So Shead left. LSU gets that scholarship back. Well, I don't know. The way I was told is that scholarship is just dead. Now, once again, we don't have an official ruling on that. And as Carvis points out, we don't know for sure if Jalen Shead is leaving. Now, as many of you know how I am about these things, right? I don't like to really say anything until it's actually official, but I will say this. Dandy Don reported it, and 247, come on, not Shay, but Sonny Ship reported it. Those are 2 guys that aren't going to blow the whistle on a negative story like that unless they have it on pretty good accord. I also say that when I was on 104.5 ESPN yesterday, they also asked me about it, and I was kind of shocked by that as well. So at this point, there would have been a counter or whatever. But the reason why I say that is because Dandy Don and 247, they're really, really plugged in. They're not going to run with that unless they have it on pretty good accord. Now, here's the thing. Jalen Shead could always come back. Last I checked, he was still on the official roster. I hope he comes back. Once again, I totally get homesickness. I totally get mental health. I wish nothing but the best for Jalen Shead. It's just this is a trend that has been going on for quite some time. And once again, this isn't even a criticism of Jalen Shead at all. It's more so the philosophy of using a slot on a 3-star tight end outside the top 900. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, so Richard Dixon, I was just saying the last 7, in recent years, they have had some absolute whiffs. Guys that didn't even make it guys that didn't even make the roster. So yeah, I mean, it's just the truth. But yeah, that's when I was just talking about the last 6 or 7. Now, even if you go beyond that, there were some other out-of-state tight ends that just did not work out. Now, once again, that doesn't mean that you don't recruit Eric Gilbert. Obviously, you recruit a type of talent like that, or you don't go get Jake Johnson. That wasn't my point. It's a lot of the similar types. These 3-star non-elite guys. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially when you've gotten good production from middle of the road to lower level recruits from just guys from Louisiana. So Foster Moreau is a good example of this. John David Moore is a good example of this. So yeah, Colin Jeter was a JUCO transfer. So, and by the way, let me clarify, it is the last 6 or 7 guys straight from high school. And Thaddeus Moss is obviously really good, but being a JUCO and just being a transfer is completely different because you're getting an adult. Why keep 3 slots open for transfers if we can sign a couple of great players? Because transfers are better players than high school recruits. They just are. Now, that doesn't mean you don't That doesn't mean you don't still recruit high school recruits. It's just the JUCO transfers, or just transfers in general, have won LSU a lot of football games. All right. I think Mike Jones is going to be really freaking good at football. It's not a bold opinion. Pro Football Focus is a lot higher on Mike Jones than basically anyone else. And they are neutral observers. He's really good. Year before last, Liam Shanahan and Jabril Cox. Year before that, I mean, this list goes on and on. Greatest player ever played LSU is a transfer. Thaddeus Moss is a transfer. So, you always want to leave slots open, especially now that transfers can immediately jump from school to school. What's up, Paris? Good to see you. And this is a good example, okay? There's a guy who I like a lot, and his name is Colby Fields, right? So I really like Colby Fields. He was out of Rummel High School. He was a 3-star linebacker, and he goes to South Carolina, right? And South Carolina's linebacker room is wide the freak open, okay? Shane Beamer even talked about this today at SEC Media Days. Their linebacker room is wide open. Colby Fields can really play football. He's really good, okay? So let's say Colby Fields just balls out in South Carolina. I mean, he is a stud year one, and he wants to come back home. So the reason why and this is just a hypothetical, Colby Fields might be more of a year 2 guy at South Carolina. We don't know. But if he balls out, then guess what? LSU could take him back, and he'd be ready to start for you the next season. So that's part of the reason why you want to leave those slots, right? Would you rather have Colby Fields, who has proven he can ball out, or would you rather take a linebacker prospect? I don't know. And that's a philosophical discussion you got to make. Now, obviously, you will take it like a Harold Perkins over anybody. I mean, he's really good. But the point being is you want to get guys that have proven that they could flat out play at the Division I college level. Oh, Paris with some scoopage. I'm hearing some talk about Major Burns starting safety with Jay Ward. Wouldn't shock me, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to – look, honestly, the more I watched Todd Harris last season, the more I really liked. Now, of course, he had one colossal mistake against Mississippi State, and it was really colossal. That was his first game back from a colossal injury, right? I like Todd Harris a lot. I like his story even better. But as far as a sideline-to-sideline guy, he is a little limited, right? I think we can all agree with that. So, yeah, Major Burns is obviously younger, not as experienced as Todd Harris. So we'll see. Once again, I really do believe knowing – and here's the thing. I've listened to Durante Jones in some interviews, right? And the one thing I like a lot is he's very, very, very progressive with his coaching, like Ed Orgeron, whereas he's not afraid to change. And I think now as a defensive coordinator, you're going to be more open to change, right? The way things used to be done can't be done now, especially now in the SEC. I think last season, to really zoom out and give a macro view about what went wrong for LSU's defense, 2 things happened. Number one, the bottom half of the SEC got way better, okay? Also, at the same time, LSU's defense became more prehistoric. So when you add those 2 absolutely horrible things at the same time, you get a disaster, which was last season. Yeah, Major Burns is going to give you a little more. Quay, about time, man. About time someone showed me some love on the shape-ups. Huh? So Roger hits us up with the Venmo here. I've actually got this message a lot today as well, okay? So let's talk about ESPN's FPI. Let me make sure I'm getting getting this correct here. So we were just talking about Mississippi State a second ago. And look, I've gotten a lot of questions. What's up, Aaron? How you doing? About this FPI thing. So there was a graphic that was shown that the ESPN FPI has Alabama as by far the favorite to win the SEC. And then right after that, Texas A&M, and then you have schools like Auburn and LSU basically tied in the SEC West. Oh, wait, hold on. I did not see your question, Cliff. Prez, my cuz, with the new O-line coach and new – okay, so we'll get to your question in just a second, Roger, about FPI. I'm sorry about this, Cliff. With the new O-line coach and new blocking philosophy, which RB benefits the most, and how does Kev Falk improve his running back rotation method? Great question. So let's first start with John Emery and Ty Davis-Price. Now, obviously, we got the Jalen Shead piece, and that'll be coming out soon. I also do have a film study on John Emery Jr. coming out soon. And this is a big issue with John Emery, right? He missed a lot, and I mean a lot of assignments, okay? So the reason why it's so tough to say this about John Emery is that you don't know the play calls, right? But what I had to do was rewatch all the games and rewatch all of John Emery snaps, and I noticed a pattern in pass protection that John Emery missed a lot of assignments, and it started getting worse and worse and worse. So to defend Kev Falk, remember, think of Kev Falk as a player, okay? Kev Falk played the John Emery role before it was in vogue, right? He was one of the best third down backs in the history of the sport in the NFL, right? He was a big reason why the Brady thing even started. So when you play for a disciplinarian like Bill Belichick and you play for, a demanding personality like Tom Brady, you better know your assignments, right? So imagine Kev Falk, that would probably blow his fuse more than anything else, not trusting a running back to get his assignments right. John Emery missed a lot of assignments, okay? And on the upcoming film study, I'm going to show you 3 different assignments that he missed that really cost LSU. So that's got to get fixed. And, it would be different if he was a true freshman making these mistakes, but he was a sophomore. He was year 2. So obviously going into year 3, that's going to be the biggest thing. Can you just run the play right? Okay. So that's obviously going to be huge, right? So that's the first thing, Cliff. As far as the running back rotation, yes, you go back to the Vanderbilt game, John Emery was killing him, and then they subbed him out, and the very next drive they put in TDP. So, yeah, the rotation was a little weird last season, but that was part of it. Now, with the new O-line coach and his new blocking philosophy, which running back benefits the most? And that's once again, I would have to say John Emery, simply because he just has a little bit more upside. I know that the idea that TDP is the bruiser and the better short yardage back, he did get more short yardage carries, but he didn't really convert a whole lot of them. Now, a lot of that was due to poor run blocking and very predictable play calling. That is without a doubt, a truth about that. What's up, Pegasus? We say hi to Jawan. We say hi to Mick, Big Al, Cheryl, everyone, and Clint. But yeah, it is, TDP, I'd have to go run this data again. His conversion rate on short yardage runs, even though he doesn't have great run blocking, is not all that great, right? And there is an art to converting a short yardage run, right? Obviously, the greatest short yardage runner in LSU history is probably, Hester, but Stephen Ridley was really good at it, and Fournette was good at it as well. So, that's got to get better. But I think John Emery does benefit the most simply because he's going to have a fresh start on everything. And I think that's a really good thing, especially not only with Kev Falk and Brad Davis, but Jake Peets as well. So I do think John Emery does have a little bit of a leg up because obviously TDP has been the more reliable option. In pass protection, TDP is going to be better. TDP is going to run the right play. John Emery, one time against Alabama, one time against Mississippi State, and one time against Auburn, he did not even go the right way. So those are 3 separate games where this happened, and that's, for a quarterback, that obviously is always in the back of your head. And as a play caller, that could be in the back of your head as well. So let me know if that answers your question, Cliff. I do believe John Emery gets a huge win when it comes to the new coaching staff. God, Pig K just got a lot of fans on this channel, and that's cool. I like that. I do. And obviously, so far in our poll, John Emery is currently leading 59% TDP. And then a few of you are pretty high on Corey Kiner, Armani Goodwin, or Josh Williams, or if you want a deep cut, Corey Norman. Kiner is way better than Emery. We'll see. Sutton, I'm not going to lie. Sutton, if this is your first time, welcome. I actually agree with you on that, Sutton. Once again, I have prayed about this. I would love to see Jason Hines just a complete 180. In 2018, when he played left guard, he was a monster. I hope we get a complete 180 from 2020 because, Jason Hines was a big issue last season. And I hate to say it. I really do. So we'll see. We'll see. But he's got to get better. He's got to get better. You can argue we win the Mississippi State game if Jason Hines just plays a little bit better. But I'm wishing him the best. And you got to give Jason Hines a lot of credit. By all accounts, he puts in the work. If you look at his physique, he actually does look like he's in shape. He does look like he is what you want a SEC right guard to look like. His legs are tree trunks, right? But he just couldn't get in a rhythm last season, and it led to more sloppy mistakes. So we'll see. Now we get to once again, Cliff. Let me know. I'm sorry I missed your question after the super chat. Now I'm going to get to Roger's point about the FPI. All right. So this is obviously a really good point. Now, what is the FPI? So the FPI is just basically an analytic that LSU likes to use and factors in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency and how much you dominate games and all these other different things. I'm not smart enough to fully be able to break down FPI, but I'll tell you this. They had an egregious, and I mean egregious mathematical error from a few months ago. They had Mississippi State as a top 10 team going into this next season. And just this last week or so, they said, no, actually, we messed up with that. Mississippi State is not the number 8 ranked team. We screwed this up. But still, LSU's FPI has been around 17 or 18. Now, once again, I like all analytics. I like all different metrics. I like all different data points. I think it's cool. But according to this graphic, and Roger, let me know if I'm addressing this question correctly, because FPI gives LSU a 2% chance of winning the SEC this season. You have to keep this in mind, okay? When it comes to FPI and when it comes to these predictive measurements, guess what happens? They are legit trying to predict whether or not you can win the SEC. So they factor in a lot of different things in FPI. They predict your win and loss totals. They do all these different things, right? And it goes back to our video earlier today, right? You know what else is included into the ESPN FPI? Who you play, okay? And I cannot say it enough. When you play Florida every season and your 2 biggest rivals in the West get to play South Carolina and Tennessee, it is such a gigantic advantage for those 2 programs, right? Especially now that both of those 2 programs have new head coaches and they have been awful for quite some time. Okay. Florida's good. Dan Mullen has killed us. He has moved the football on us. Mississippi State or wherever. He's really good. All right. We got to play him every year. And Florida recruits better. They have better teams. They're not disciplined. And that's a big oversight by Dan Mullen. It was a big reason why they lost to LSU last season. So even with that said, the FPI takes that into account, right? So, Roger, I wouldn't get too carried away with FPI. What I would tell you, though, is it's not only FPI. FPI is not the only advanced analytic that is fading LSU. Not fading LSU too much, but also SP Plus doesn't really have LSU ranked all that high. I haven't really looked at Sagarin and all these other preview magazines yet, but yeah, it's very interesting. Pegasus says, do you think A&M is our biggest rival? No, once again, I don't think LSU has a rival, right? I think they have big games. Alabama is a marquee game every season, and you can argue LSU is Alabama's biggest game on the schedule every year. Obviously, Auburn is a bigger rivalry, but I think LSU is a bigger game for Alabama each and every season, especially when it comes to the playoff. But LSU just doesn't have a rival, right? If they were to have a rival, Arkansas would have been a pretty good rival considering they are bordering states. They are the only Power 5 schools in their respective states. They are in the same conference, but LSU's on a different level than Arkansas, right? And this is coming from a guy who loves that rivalry. I went to high school in Arkansas. So yeah, it's one of those things. I don't think LSU has a rival. I just don't. We have vitriolic games. Like you could argue Florida is our most hated team on the schedule, but even if that is the case, like our video from earlier stated, as much as I love playing Florida every season, it still doesn't take away the fact that it is a complete disregard for fairness that we have this stupid cross-division rival rule. It's dumb. I think it is by far the biggest scheduling disadvantage we have in all major sports. I really do think that. When you factor in how much your regular season matters in college football, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Imagine going up to someone who doesn't know anything about college football. Okay, you're talking to someone in England or someone that is only familiar with the NFL, and you told them there is a conference of 14 teams. And if you choose to play in that conference of 14 teams, you and your career will not play every team in your conference, then that's not a conference. That's just a collection of teams. It's not an actual conference. If you have conferences, you should rotate the teams that you play in your conference. It's not a hard concept. It's really not. Yeah, Auburn has to play Georgia every season. Totally unfair to both of those programs. So, it's just true. There's no other way around it. And here's how I am. I try and look at LSU football as objectively as I can. I'm a super fan. This is my life. I look at it every day. I would still feel the same way if it was Alabama having to play Florida every season and LSU getting to play Tennessee. It's just the truth. All right. It's not. Once again, this is something that I've been on for quite some time. LSU's coaching staff, even though they didn't publicly say it was just Dan Mullen at SEC Media Days this time around, this has been a problem for quite some time. Exactly, Aaron. Is that not wild? Is that not wild? It is fun. Okay, Aaron. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of hope we get to play that schedule. I would be shocked if that is not the hardest schedule in the history of the sport. Okay. I'm dead serious. I doubt that there has ever been a harder regular season schedule than that. I know Arkansas has had some downright brutal ones, But yeah, it's crazy. I love it though. For those that want to see it, this was a video from earlier that we posted. Let's go. I love it. So yeah. And that could be our prime season. That would be Walker Howard's junior or senior season. If he's still around the program, then in 2025, if he's not going into the NFL draft, imagine that being the year and LSU having to play that schedule. Look, if LSU went with that schedule and that link, if they went a miracle season, if they went 10-2, that would be ridiculous. Okay, you would play two of the best coaches of all time, and Georgia. It really is laughable. And Texas A&M, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, Roger, it is interesting. So I'm not going to lie. I understand we have some Auburn viewers. Shout out to Vernon. Shout out to all our Auburn viewers, Mark and whoever else. Not going to lie. I hate it from an Auburn perspective. Once again, I liked it from an LSU perspective. Auburn's hires didn't make sense to me. Brian Harsin, I kind of get. The offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator hires made no sense to me. I would have rather just hired two new guys like LSU did. Now, once again, I might be totally wrong about this whole ordeal, but yeah, I thought those hires were beyond atrocious, especially with Kevin Steele. Are you kidding me? Exactly, Blaine. So there's a piece of me like you, Blaine, that says it isn't. Wait, hold on. Let me answer this from Chris. What's up, Chris? Is this your first time in here? It is crazy that in 19 we did play all those teams and won. But Chris Hilton will need to become Jamar Chase, or one of those guys would need to become Jamar Chase, and Walker Howard would need to, or Garrett would need to be Joe Burrow for us to win all those games again. It's hard to beat all those teams in a single season, and it is crazy now, Chris. It just clicked to me that we did actually play all those teams. That's wild because we played Georgia, we played Clemson. That's right. You are right about that, Chris. And also, welcome to the channel, Chris, if this is your first time. It is cool, though. Like, that would be the funnest season. I'd want to go to as many of those games. Like, that's crazy that you get Clemson, Georgia, and Alabama all on the road. Wow. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? All in one season. That kind of makes me smile. I would kind of want to do that. Just from that. Just from that perspective. Aaron says, don't sleep on this team's potential. We were having similar convos in 18, and look what happened in a year's time. True. And you actually are pretty right about that, Aaron. I mean, look, no one expected Clyde Edwards-Helaire to become one of the best, single season surprises you'll ever see. Now, obviously Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow kind of overshadows like how big of a jump Clyde made. It's pretty wild. Yeah, Alan, and that's the thing. I wouldn't experience is especially on the defensive side is so overrated now. Who knows how to coach defense now? What is the right way to coach defense? I can argue the right way to coach defense is what Arkansas did last season. Barry Odom, who had experience, said, look, and this was really impressive. I think what Barry Odom did last season was ridiculous. So Arkansas, and I'm going to tie this in with LSU. So Arkansas, their defense played by far the most plays in their season last year, or in the SEC last season. Arkansas's defense averaged 80 snaps per game. So just for comparison's sakes, most games feature anywhere from 65 to 75 snaps per offense. Okay. So 80 plays is what Arkansas's defense averaged. But a big reason why they averaged so many plays is because the Arkansas offense had the same problem that the LSU offense had. They had a lot of 3 and outs. But what the Arkansas defense did that the LSU defense didn't do was they played very soft. They kept everything in front of them. They ran very light boxes, and it worked. They were the second best team in the SEC last season. Despite averaging 80 plays per game, they were the second best pass defense on a yards per attempt basis, okay? Now, why was that the case? Well, Arkansas played their safeties deeper, and I think that's what LSU is going to do next season. You look at the LSU spring game film. I didn't have the all 22, so it's kind of hard to see what the safeties did, and they also weren't blitzing, and they were very vanilla, but still, their secondary played a lot smarter. They were far more conservative. And for those that didn't see the pass defense film study last week, that was what a big issue was for LSU, was they needlessly brought their safeties into the box. Exactly, Esteban, right on there. And also true, Roman, we have to play a lot of young guys as well. The Blasters here. It's a Big Al. The disagreement, each team is different. There will never be another Mike Tyson, but that's true, Big Al. That's true. Yeah, maybe in 2025 we go undefeated with that schedule. You never know. I mean, heck, Walker Howard, Jack Besh, Will Campbell, Chris Hilton, Armani Goodwin. Well, would he still be around then? He could be. Blaine, I don't think you spelled that V word. The sport has been, for ratings, touchdowns sell more ads, defense is taken out purposely. You are partially right about that. Look, you can't hit receivers over the middle, you can't hit quarterbacks. Word spelling is correct. Blaine did. Oh, man. I love it. I didn't even know that was a word. All right. Oh, man. I love it. I love that. What's up, DBU7, my guy? Let's get a little sip. I'm fired up tonight, guys. SC Media Days hit me on a different level. It's weird because I normally go. So, I think the last year I went was 18. I went 4 years in a row. I went 15, 16, 17, 18. 21 is head bussing season. Head bussing. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's see what the poll is at right now. Most yards. Emory's still winning. Let's get up here. All right. Gonna pin this right here. Boom. Are you doing any media day coverage? So I'm obviously not in Alabama right now. I actually, trust me, I love media days because a lot of those media members are my friends, and I miss it. I've had my qualms with media days as well, but I hate not being there. So yeah, I'm not going to be there, obviously. And LSU's already come and gone. Our game announcements. Yeah, Esteban, I'm still going through different strategies about what actually works the best for like an in-game chat. I know for certain though, we are going to definitely have post-game chats. Take PHL to media days next year. I'd love to go. I really would. I think TDP and Emery will both have Clyde Edwards-Helaire seasons. I like that, Roman. I like that. That means we're beating Alabama again, if that's the case. I love it. The Master Blaster, top 5 SECs in the SEC, named them in order. Okay, so obviously Tiger Stadium's number 1, but like we try our best to do, I think a lot of you try your best to look at LSU objectively. So look, you look nationally, Scott Van Pelt says Tiger Stadium's the best. Ryan Russillo says Tiger Stadium's the best. You know, I'm just sharing national media members, and they have no ties to the area, and they say that it's the best, Death Valley. So, yeah, sure. You know, Tiger Stadium's freaking incredible. Let me start by saying I've yet to go to Georgia Stadium. Athens, Georgia is the best SEC city. As far as being an SEC city is concerned, Athens is the best pure SEC city. Fayetteville is very underrated. It's a second home for me. Some of my best friends live in Fayetteville. So, you know, I'm a little biased towards that as well. So taking that out of the equation, probably the most intimidating stadium experience was Ben Hill Griffith. I went to the 2008 game where we got stomped. So, yeah, I would say that's probably the most intimidating, a night game in the Swamp. I did like Bryant Denny in Alabama. I did like Jordan Hare as well. I thought Jordan Hare was really cool. The Eagle flying in is incredible. Starkville is meh. You know, the Cowbells was cool. I got to go to a game there. Oxford, let me put it this way. And I hate this because my guy Ben Mintz, shout out to him. I know he loves his Rebels. Oxford was a little overrated. Now, I'll say this. I went to the 2011 game where their team was just horrible that season, and we beat them 52-3. The game started with like a Ron Brooks pick 6, like the first play of the game. I would put Oxford last. I would put Vaught Hemingway last. I need to give it another shot, though. So I would say my favorite, though, I would probably say Florida. The Swamp at night's really cool. Gainesville is not great. Gainesville's not that great. Tuscaloosa's okay. I really like Auburn. I really like Jordan Hare. So I would put Jordan Hare number 1. I'll put Jordan Hare number 1. What's up, Max? Super chat here. Quickly catch you up to speed on Jalen Shead. Okay, really quickly. We don't know for sure. There's nothing official. Once again, Dandy Don and 247 reported it. So those are guys that aren't just going to scoop just for the sake of scooping for attention seeking. So more than likely, Jalen Shead did leave the program. But honestly, like I shared a little bit earlier, and I won't spend too much time on it here, Max. I don't think LSU should have ever recruited Jalen Shead from the beginning. But yeah, I agree with Carvis. Gainesville was a cool experience in the stadium. I will also say their fans were by far the most vitriolic. I really do believe that. Corn dogs were thrown at me, and this was the height of the Tebow era. And the year before, there was so much pent-up frustration from Florida fans to LSU fans. The Florida fans were treated very hostilely in Baton Rouge that year. And I'm telling you, I saw my friends almost getting into some big fights. Cops were involved. I mean, it was just a mess. It was a disaster. Not too great at tailgating pre or post, but once again, that was just a one-game experience for me. But if you were to choose an SEC campus between Florida and Georgia, Georgia is by far better. Athens, Georgia is the best SEC city. And once again, I love Baton Rouge. I freaking love Fayetteville. Fayetteville every year is a top 5 city to live in America, voted on by, people that actually, judge cost of living and all these different. Fayetteville is freaking incredible. But still, I'll say this. Arkansas has the second best basketball program in the SEC and the second best arena, probably to Rupp. Now, I've never been to Rupp, but that's a different story for a different day. But Florida fans are very disrespectful. The Jorts, right. Good question, Tony. But once again, I think Andy Staples or a national media member that has gone to all the games, who is trained to look at this stuff objectively. I've been to quite a few SEC stadiums. Once again, I haven't been to all of them. I haven't been to most of them. I actually haven't included this. I did go to College Station. I went to the Manziel game where we took care of business. And it was pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I went to the Midnight Yell. I thought that was cool. When they do the Texas A&M swing, I was in the press box. The press box actually starts to sway back and forth. It's actually pretty scary, and no one told me that previously. So I legit started to, my pants, because I didn't know that. And I thought we were about to go down. I'm dead serious. I freaked out in the press box when that happened. But College Station is different. But the Midnight Yell actually is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people think it's cheesy. I think it's unique. I like unique. So whatever. Oh, that's cool. That's a cool experience, Clinton Cheryl. Exactly, Max. So if you're wanting to intimidate somebody, the Florida experience was very, very volatile. Now, I'll tell you this. The best feeling was being on the field for the 9-6 game, right? So I was on the field. It was so weird, right? So it's different when you actually – it's one thing when you meet a celebrity. It's another thing when you meet a billionaire, right? Billionaires live by a different set of rules. They look at life. There's a different type of presence when you're around a billionaire. And at the LSU Alabama game, I met Robert Kraft. For whatever reason, he was at that game. There were so many people at that game. LeBron was there. D. Wade was there. Game of the century. Robert freaking Kraft. And, it was interesting. And he was on the field when I was down there as well. It was so weird. Yeah, well, Pine Bluff is fun. Let's see. Yeah, actually, that is true, Esteban. I do remember their sound system. I also remember Jordan Hare's sound system is piped up as well. But yeah, and this, to tie this into like current day stuff, this is why it's really hard for recruits, right? All these game day atmospheres are great, right? Now, obviously, I think Tiger Stadium is the best. I just do. But you could see why I feel there's going to be a wave of decommitments, right? There is something to be said about being in the stadium for a game, right? It's kind of like how I viewed the Rose Bowl. I used to grow up thinking, oh, the Rose Bowl is so overrated and granddaddy of them all. I don't give a rip. It's SEC is so much better. Until I actually went to the Rose Bowl and I was like, okay, there's a reason why this is like peak college football, right? So you see why it's important to people to have that game, the granddaddy of them all. So it's interesting. Kenneth says, in Hawaii, building Girl Scout cabins with the Air Force. Got a 10-minute break. What's up, Kenneth? That's an interesting anecdote there, but welcome. Let's see here. Oh, man. So freaking excited, Dan. I wish I could share what I'm looking at right now. What? Hold on. That makes no sense. What? Okay. There's no place on earth like Death Valley on a Saturday night. Let's go. What's up, Creek? Of course, I'm ready for some football. Are you ready for some football? Are you ready to party? Carter, since SEC players, there isn't a difference in physicality. Could an all-star SEC team beat the worst NFL team ever? So it depends. Like if you take like an NFL team from like, let's say 15 years ago and you pair them up against the 2019 LSU Tigers, maybe. But no, I don't think so. No, I don't. I don't think so. What's going on, babe? I think we're ready. All right, guys. Best football rivalry. Oh, this is easy. It's absolutely easy. Actually, here's what we'll do, Tony. To cliffhang you, this actually is the easiest question of all time. The best football rivalry. It's time. See the baby. Hey, everybody. I think they're ready to see the Booger bracelets.
Okay. Can you hold her?
Yeah, go. Say hi to the Z. Everyone say hi to Z. Puppy love. So Big Al, I love that you typed it all out. Dan Bournay is like the nicest guy ever. He is the most humble, nicest guy. So for those that don't know, Dan Bournay is the one that says, it's Saturday night in Death Valley. What are you doing? What are you doing, Z? See, she loves a bite. Huh? Oh, it's 3:06 in Hawaii right now? See, she just bites. No, you can't get them back, Jared. Once they're gone, they're gone. All right, Master Blaster. I'm gonna get you the best rivalry in college football, in just a second. Aloha is right. She's starting to get better. Yesterday was a rough day. She was just so bad yesterday, so hyper. All right. How many are in there?
I don't know.
All right. So we got a few shipments here of Booger bracelets. We got a limited supply, and you guys asked for them. Okay. So however many are in here, I would guess probably like 20 or 25 are in here. So if you want one of these, which is obviously this bracelet right here, it's simple. 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20 shipped. Okay. So 1 for 10, 2 for 20.
Get your booger bracelets.
Get your booger bracelets. 1 for 10.
Hey, everybody.
2 for 20. 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. So there you go. So if you want one, Venmo or Cash App me, and we will send it to you. And then all you got to do is email me your address, and we will send it to you. She's not gonna fall. You got her.
No, I got her, baby.
So you want to join the Booger Bracelet Club?
Yes, my mama.
And obviously, this is in honor of Boog the dog. Limited supply, so I would obviously hop on it now. We're just testing it out to send it.
So what you'll need to do, you need to send us your address.
Yeah. So here's what you do. If you buy one, all you have to do is email me.
Ouch.
After you send a Venmo Cash App to at Card of the Power. So you see that out there at Card of the Power. Once you get that, obviously, you just send me an email with your address. There you go, Creek. That's all you got to do. And once again, 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. And it's good. Once again, I'm not gonna lie. I used to wear 5 bands right here, 5 bands right here.
He did, and it drove me crazy.
So Haley didn't like it, but obviously we both wear these bands daily.
Yep.
And the quality of these have been really impressive.
They're really great.
They really have been
we
impressive.
Shower with them. I wash dishes with them.
So we actually went through the same company, and lucky enough they sent us that. How much would it be to super chat with Google's cut taken?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Let me do some math. I'm bad at math. Let me see. Let me do this real quick.
You could also say PayPal if you have a PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal. Yeah. Let me see. 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. And all you got to do is email me your address and we'll send it.
Email me address and how many.
And how many you want. And then here's the thing. If you do the 3 for 20, I'll throw in an LSU card as well. So 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. So there you go. Once again, limited supply. Once they're gone, and then we'd have to get some more. Max, I think
she's not. She's just gnawing.
Let me see it. Google's country. There you go. I knew Roger would be the first one. Roger 101.
Need the book swag. Y'all are so nice.
Y'all are so great. Thank you guys so much for supporting Le Booger.
God love my booger.
And we still think about her every day.
Every day. 1 for 10, 3 for 15. 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. You need to put that link in your bio too.
There you go, Esteban. You're in, buddy.
Esteban?
Esteban's in.
Y'all are so nice.
Esteban's in. So Esteban, all you got to do is email me your address,
Send us your address. I'll get them out tomorrow.
And we're sending them out.
I'll do it tomorrow.
That's cool stuff right there. These might be gone tonight. Not gonna lie. That's already 6. That's already 6 gone.
Yeah.
6 are gone already. Max, I think. Let me see. 30. Actually, 30 would do it. 30 would do it. So there we go. So to get back into LSU football,
All right,
once again, if you do get them, just email me your address and we'll get them to you.
Y'all see this thing?
Look at this. Y'all go say bye to Z. She'll be back a little bit later.
Hey.
She wants to go watch Giannis. What's the price again? Oh, don't let her bite your ear with the earring in there. She's going for chunks. So,
all right, come on, Mama.
So yeah, Max, I would guess with Google's cut taken out, I think a 30.
30 would cover it.
30 would be fine. 30 would be fine.
I think that would cover it just fine. And then he'll send me the addresses. You'll send me
the addresses, and then we'll send it to you. That's if you want. That's if you want all those. So back at LSU football here.
Phoenix Suns.
Phoenix Suns. Haley wants Chris Paul.
Come on, Mama.
I'm a Giannis guy. I've grown on Giannis.
Come on. Get your toy. Good girl.
Also, Esteban, I'm going to know where you live. So I'm just going to one day I'm just going to go to Esteban's house and just knock on the door. Esteban's on the road, so make sure you drive safe. Let's see. These might be gone tonight. They are pretty cool, Roger. I'm not going to lie. Because I used to wear the Lance Armstrong Live Strong. And I'll never, this was my favorite one. A veteran gave this one to me. And it's meant even more to me considering how many veterans and current service members watch our channel. So yeah, this one means a lot to me. And obviously this one means a lot to me. So yeah, pretty excited about this. Let's see. And guess what, Esteban? You get to pick the next topic. And Roger, you get to pick the next topic as well. And as you do, Creek, thank you for your super chat. So you guys get to pick the next topic. So please let me know. You guys want to talk about today? Oh my goodness, I just read this thing about the Jets coach from earlier today. Greg Knapp battling life-threatening injuries in a bicycling accident, struck by a single motorist at 2:49. Wow. Yeah, it's wild because what was the name of the NBA player that just happened to? It's wild that consistently happens. So drive safe. I will also share this information. I did lose a friend also to an automobile accident about a few weeks ago, and it is really dangerous on those roads. So please be safe. And I also bring that up because obviously, Esteban just said he's on the road right now. Roman, I-10 Roman, he's one of our best viewers, especially for live chats. Roman, please stay safe. Please drive safe. And, it's very, it's very important you stay safe on the road. Now, back to LSU discussion. The media is not giving LSU much of a chance of winning the SEC West, are they? No. And, look, that's fine. That Alabama's been picked to win the SEC West every season. So it really doesn't matter in that aspect. I don't know how many teams actually picked LSU to win the West back in 2019 either. So it's very important to keep that in mind. Let's see. Mario said, and as Grant points out, you can legit say they don't believe in us. You could legit say, Ed Orgeron could go in the locker room and have an objective, piece of evidence that says nobody believes in you guys. Nobody. Shout out to you, Roman. See Breezy. Mike Scarborough reporting Xavier Jones has gained almost 30 pounds. That's pretty good, Chris, because what that tells you is Xavier Jones, and this was something that I said when he initially came out, I viewed him more as a defensive tackle type, if he does add on some muscle, he could be a very explosive 3-technique defensive tackle. I still think he's more of a year 2 guy, especially not being an early enrollee, but we'll see. We'll see. Jared says, Carter, I hate how they hate on Coach O. So who hates on Coach O? I'm curious. Look, he's a national championship winning head coach. No respect. I get what you're saying, Jared. So, like, on these top 20 coaches list, Coach O is never really mentioned there. But we'll see. You know, if he comes out and has a 10-3 record this year, then he'll be in those top 10 list again. Or if he gets to the college football playoff this season, he'd be undeniable one of the top 5, top 10 coaches in college football, right? But we'll see. You know, last year, even with LSU losing all the talent that they lost, you know, that roster probably still shouldn't have been a 5-5 roster. And, you know, you guys have watched the film studies. There were so many mental mistakes that were made last season by guys who have been in the program more than a year, right? It'd be different if it was just, you know, true freshmen or first-year starters making mistakes. But it was the same mistakes being made over and over again. They got him ranked 14th in head coaches. So we'll see. You know, 2019, greatest team of all time. 2020, you know, one of the worst LSU teams, you know, of the modern era. So, you know, we'll see. You know, somewhere in the middle of that, if LSU is just in the middle of that, they're a 10-3 team next season, which is really good. But you want people to say that you're not good enough, right? Trust me, why do you think every season Nick Saban tells his team, you know, everything outside this building is rat poison, right? Let's go to Esteban. So this is a super chat question. Honest opinion on the NIL. Do you think that it makes it easier for the bagman to reel in a big-time recruit? Yeah, Roger, I agree with you. LSU should be ahead of Auburn. I don't get the Auburn love. It really does baffle me. But anyway, to the NIL. Let's, as far as the bagman, yes, you know, you can. There's so many different ways you can go around it, right? You could just say, hey, we're giving this recruit $1 million to do this radio interview for so-and-so brewing. Well, it can't be a brewing company. For so-and-so landscaping or whatever it may be, right? So, yeah, you know, it is easier, Esteban. It is. So-and-so construction, so-and-so pottery, you know, it's legal. It's legal to do that. Now, is the actually good? Now, a few coaches have been asked about this as far as people being jealous in locker rooms. Kirby Smart addressed this pretty well today. And Kirby at the podium is actually really good. You can tell he's a Sabanite. He does a good job not getting into juicy stuff. And he said, look, one of the guys today, there's 2 players that obviously represent each school. One of the guys has NIL deals and the other one doesn't. You know, it's just, I don't think this idea that it will divide locker rooms, hell, there's jealousy on every team, right? Because trust me, when the 2019 LSU team was going through what they went through, don't you think Stephon Sullivan and Derek Dillon, who were ahead of Jamar Chase on the depth chart the year before, saw Jamar and Terrace pass him up and saw that they were both going to be future first and second round picks? Don't you think that they were just a little jealous? Yeah, of course. That didn't stop them from being good players. Sullivan and Dillon were good players on that 2019 team. They were good role players, good glue guys. Jealousy has always been there, right? So I think for the most part, teammates are happy when their teammates get bags or when they have success. You can still be jealous. Trust me, I'm jealous as heck of Colin Cowherd and Howard Stern and Kevin Frazier, name any big broadcaster. I'm jealous as heck of them. But it still doesn't make me mad at their success per se. Jealousy is just natural. So I don't think the NIL will divide as much as people think. Now, there is a difference. There's a difference in saying that, and is the NIL actually good or bad for college football? Look, I it's kind of hard to say. I do think the NIL, for the most part, will be fine. However, there is a dangerous threshold that comes along with it, right? So landscaping gives the money to the players instead of the university, and that money helps subsidizes the other sports. That's a very real thing. But I do think, and honestly, this is just true. I do think that there is a lot of value in companies sponsoring other athletes that aren't football, right? Like, if I were a company competing to, make waves in Baton Rouge, I would sponsor LSU softball. I would sponsor the players because it's not going to be as competitive of a marketplace per se. So yeah, it should be very interesting how that plays itself out, right? So Esteban, hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, I think, I also think we will be in a bidding war for quarterbacks. All right, there's just no other way around it. Quarterbacks really move the needle. It's just true. Even though Texas A&M never won 10 games under the Johnny Manziel regime, so the freak what? You saw what that did for their brand. Texas A&M was a phenomenon. The whole college football world was zoned in on Johnny Manziel. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing, right? Roger says, I'm not predicting us to win the West either, but I would bet my life savings that LSU finishes ahead of Auburn. I wouldn't bet my life savings, but I would feel pretty comfortable about that as well. Let's see. It's kind of interesting that you'll see this Aaron Rodgers earlier today turned down, the extension to be the highest paid QB. It's wild. And that's going to be interesting, with Arch Manning. Does Arch Manning really need the money himself as far as like that is concerned, right? I saw SEC quarterback ranking. What's up, Grant? For 2021, it had Connor Bazelak, who had 7 TDs, 6 interceptions at number 4. Myles Brennan at number 10. That could be that Connor is for sure going to be the starter. So, yeah. So, Esteban, this is let me answer this from Pegasus first. Esteban, if you could change when we play Bama, would you want to play them earlier or later in the season. I think it's actually pretty good for LSU to play Alabama when they play them now, because Bama's always going to be playing their best ball at the end of the season. I also think LSU begins to play their best ball then as well. And I do like the fact that both teams have a bye before that game. It makes it all the more better. So, yeah, let's go to Esteban here. I think I could see more big name players sit out earlier and just work on their network and draft stock. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad these kids get paid, but I think it'll hurt down the road. So here's what's interesting, Esteban. I actually think the opposite here. And take a break from commenting. I want you to focus in on the road. But I'll answer this, Esteban, as clearly as I can. You know, I think, okay, take Isaiah Spiller, for instance, Texas A&M running back. Okay, so he took $10,000 to do interviews with Tex Ag's radio. Okay, so Gabe Bach, he's a friend of mine. He's built just a gigantic brand with Billy Lucci there. And, you know, they got a sponsor to pay Spiller to do, you know, these interviews, $10,000. Well, running backs tend to sit out at the end of the season because of body preservation. Well, what I would do if I were, you know, the sponsor is say, look, Isaiah Spiller, in order for you to sign on this contract for $10K, you need to play each and every game. You need to go out there each and every game. Okay. So I can argue because look, those bowl games are oftentimes the games, even if you're not in the playoff, those bowl games get a lot of eyeballs, right? So even though the Florida-Oklahoma game had all these guys sitting out, Florida had Pitt sitting out, Florida had Tony sitting out, there was still a crap ton of people that watched that game just because it was, you know, two big brands on national TV. Well, if your NIL deal says, look, you void the contract if you sit out, yes, of course, the athlete wouldn't mind paying $10K just to, you know, preserve their body, but it would give them more of an incentive to actually do play. So we'll see. Yeah, Creek, you're right about that. The last time LSU and Alabama did not have a bye week before playing each other was back in 2009 when Bama had a bye week, but LSU didn't. And as a lot of you know, in that game, Alabama won that game by dominating that fourth quarter and getting the phantom Patrick Peterson interception call to go their way. So, yeah. What up, Michael B? I keep thinking you're Michael B. Jordan, and I'm like, that's so cool. Michael B. Jordan. Killmonger watches our channel. Yeah, that Auburn game. What's up, Christian? Yeah, the Auburn game usually tells us how well the team will do throughout conference play. That's cool. So here's what's interesting about this cross-division thing, and I didn't include this in the video earlier, right? And Roman, we'll get to your Blitz package comment in just a second. Once again, stay focused on that I-10, baby. So here's the thing, Krieg, is, you know, I understand that there's, you know, SEC offices are in Birmingham and Birmingham, Alabama. Look, it is in the best interest of the SEC that Alabama, the biggest brand in the SEC, with the biggest star in the SEC, and Nick Saban, to keep things the way that they are, because it does help Alabama have the easiest path. With that said, Alabama did run through a 10-game SEC conference schedule. They had a few scheduling breaks that didn't go their way, and they still ran through, beating everyone by double digits outside of Florida. And on top of that, so in the SEC meetings, this is roughly 5 or 6 years ago, okay? Oh, you're off today? Really cool, Roman. So this is very interesting, Creek, and I don't know if you know this or not just yet. So this was 5 or 6 years ago, and the SEC coaches at the time. So obviously the coaches at the time are different now. So Brett Bielema was a coach at Arkansas, and he just got fired at Arizona. Kevin Sumlin was a coach at Texas A&M. So this is very interesting, right? They polled the 14 SEC head coaches, and they asked all 14 of them, would you want to go from an 8-game conference schedule to a 9-game conference schedule? So of the 14 coaches that were polled, I want you to guess right now in the chat, all right? In the chat right now, let me know how many coaches you think of the 14 that voted to stretch the season from an 8-game to a 9-game conference schedule. Go ahead, Tony. Tony's like, forget LSU football. I'm watching the Bucks and the Suns. I totally get it. It's a great matchup. I'm going to watch it whenever we're done here. It's going to end this poll right here. But I want you guys in the chat to give it your best guess, okay? Of the 14 coaches in the SEC, how many coaches do you think voted to stretch the SEC conference schedule from 8 games to 9 games? Okay. Preston says 4. Jared says 12 of the 14. Interesting. Grant says 0. We'll let a few more answers roll in. You're going to go with 6. What's up, Kari? It's all good, baby. Kari? 5, 6, 0, 12. All right. So, Pegasus says 4. So, who rushes for the most yards in 2021? Emory was the winner. So, congrats to John Emory. PHL believes in you. Tony says 0. Okay. So, the correct answer is 1. All right. Now, here's what's interesting. I want you to guess which one of the coaches was the one that voted for the 9-game conference schedule. Okay. There was only one. Guess which coach was the one who, and it was Nick Saban. Jared's right. So, as much as we criticize Alabama for getting to play Tennessee every season, and for LSU playing Florida every season, the one guy you cannot criticize is Nick Saban, who came out in favor of the 10-game conference schedule last season. He was the most vocal supporter of it. You want to know who's not a supporter of it is guys like Stoops of Kentucky, who said, hey, you saw how bad the play got with 10 conference games. Let's keep it at 8. So obviously, the SEC bottom half would rather keep it at 8 because it is so important to get to 6 wins. When you play in the SEC, it's hard to get to 6 wins. So you want to schedule another cupcake or just another game in general to help you get to that number 6 mark. So the bottom half is going to say, let's keep it at 8, right? But yes, Nick Saban back in 2013. So this is 8 years ago. I was wrong. 8 years ago, Nick Saban said, I want a 9-game conference schedule and voted against his own self-interest for a more competitive matchups. Now, one could argue Nick Saban was saying, look, so 2013 was prior to the college football playoff. He was thinking at the time, okay, let's stretch our schedule out to 9 games because that gives us more flexibility of getting a loss. The committee will see that we played a tougher schedule and get us in. When the exact opposite is actually true. Okay, the one thing that is overrated in college football is strength of schedule. It is so overrated. By far, the most important thing to do to get into a 4-team college football playoff is avoid losses, okay? So you go back to 2018, Georgia would have gotten in the playoff over Oklahoma if they did not lose to LSU in 2018. And remember, Georgia got very unlucky to draw LSU. That was one of the tougher matchups that they could have drawn of the 12 potential matchups that they could have gotten that season, right? So you see how that works, and it kind of ties in with our video earlier. And Georgia got the short end of the stick because they have to play Auburn every year. And on top of that, they also have to play LSU. And because they lost that game, their only loss, let's just say that game instead of LSU was Mississippi State and they blew out Mississippi State. Well, their only loss would have been a 7-point loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. They probably would have gotten in over Oklahoma. So it's interesting. You want to avoid losses at all costs. That is by far the most important. This is by far the most important thing. So I understand that LSU fans want to get a shot in at Nick Saban whenever you can. Trust me. I like to do it as well. And I have been critical of Nick Saban. His management of the 2011 game was so bad. And then in the championship game, it was the exact opposite. So he's made a lot of mistakes, right? However, he does have that going for him. He was the only coach in 2013 to vote in favor of a 9-game conference schedule. But, right now with the way that the schedules are set up, it is without reasonable doubt that it gives Alabama, a huge advantage, not having to go to a 9-game schedule. But once again, Nick Saban says, let's do it. Forget it. Let's do it. And I still think he feels this way. I'm telling you, the most important thing in college football is the schedule. Okay. So the way it normally works in sports is the most important thing is your talent. Okay. And then the second most important thing is your coach. And the third most important thing is your schedule. Okay. College football, by far the most important thing is your talent. But even more so than your coach, your schedule really does matter. It matters so much in college football. It matters so much more in college football than every other sport you can think of. Your schedule is every last little thing that really makes or break your season, okay? Once again, by far, talent is the most important thing. And coaching is still very important. But your schedule, I'm telling you, I cannot emphasize it enough. The importance of the schedule structure is so crucial to college football. And it's part of what makes it so daggum fun, right? Because look, take this for example, all right? LSU this past season in basketball. I don't know if you guys remember this. They played a game against Texas Tech, and LSU choked the game away at the end, okay, against Texas Tech. They just threw the game away. They legit did. Didn't matter. Had really no bearing on their season. Now, could that win have differentiated them from an 8 or a 7 seed? Probably not. More than likely not. Still, it had no bearing on the season. That would have been nice if they were on the bubble and they would have won that game. That probably would have got them into the tournament, but it really had no bearing, right? College football is the exact opposite. This first game against UCLA, LSU could lose it and legit put themselves behind the 8 ball for getting into the college football playoff. I agree with you, Pegasus. I agree with you. And there have been different ideas. I like Bill Connolly's idea of having 3 permanent opponents, and then from there having a rotating pod of teams. I won't get too deep into that. I really do like that idea the best. And I think he suggested LSU's permanent opponents be Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. I think that was it. What's up, PJ? Good to hear from you. So Creek, I will address this as well. The job of the SEC head office is to be fair and competitive. In theory, that is their job, but it's not their job. The job of Greg Sankey is to make money. All right. Now, I think Greg Sankey's a fine commissioner. I've interviewed him quite a few times. I tried to get him to freestyle with me on a radio interview. Didn't work. He's an interesting guy. But he has said this at SEC Media Days. I don't know if it was, the 2019 Media Days or I don't remember. However, he did say that the 8-game conference schedule is what's gotten the SEC into the college football playoff. The job of the SEC is to get their teams into the playoff, right? Being fair and competitive is obviously important, right? But they would have already changed things if they wanted to be fair and competitive, right? And right now, if you get teams into the college football playoff, you make more money, all right? And that's just the bottom line. So, Creek, I agree with you. I think that should be the job of the league office in any sport, to be fair and competitive. But, it's more important to make money. Here's something else that Saban does. He'll play a non-conference opponent, but it has to be on a neutral field. Okay. So once again, I know this sounds like I'm defending Saban, but he tries to schedule tough teams. Who wants to play that game? Okay. Let's go back to a few seasons ago, right? Florida State played Nick Saban the first game of the season, and Florida State was highly ranked. It was one of the most anticipated games, and their quarterback, Florida State, number 12, I don't remember. He got beaten to a pulp to where he tore his ACL and was out for the year. And Florida State got just pummeled, discombobulated, any superlative you want to use. And Jimbo never really recovered from that. He lost. DeAndre Francois was his name. Yes. Thank you, Sutton. Do you want to play Alabama first game of the season when you know you're going to be at a coaching disadvantage? You're going to be at an athlete disadvantage, and you're not going to be playing your best ball. I don't know if I'd want to schedule Alabama as a non-conference game for my first game of the season. So, yeah, there's a reason, right? This isn't like college basketball where the first weekend of every year is like Kansas State, Duke, Kentucky, and Michigan State playing in a tournament in Madison Square Garden. You can lose those games, and it actually helps your resume when you lose them. Of course, you would prefer to win them, but it does help your team in the long term to get you ready for those kind of games in March. It's not how it works in college football, right? Or even in college baseball, they do this as well. Your regular season games have no bearing on your postseason. And look at SEC baseball this season. Arkansas had the greatest season in the history of the sport in college baseball. They didn't lose an SEC series, and they didn't make the College World Series, right? College football, your regular season has so much to do with legit everything. Big Al, you change your Abby. Exactly, Pegasus. I couldn't agree more. That's why I'm anti-playoff expansion, right? Cannot say this enough. Okay. So look, tonight I'm a huge, all right. Now, obviously, it is my job. I treat this as a job, right? To, do these live streams and entertain you on this channel. But let's be honest here. Okay. I love the NBA. I freaking love the NBA. If I wasn't here, I'd be watching the game right now, and I'm probably going to watch the second half. Freaking love the NBA. Hate the way the NBA is structured, right? I don't like the NBA playoffs as much as I once did because, my eyes have been opened by college football and European soccer about how valuable having a regular season is, especially now with load management and all of that. It sucks. So the same thing is happening in the NFL right now. When you stretch out the regular season and you get more teams into the playoff, it hurts your product. It devalues what you have, right? So look, if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, take this into equation, right? So, the playoff last season expanded from 6 to 7 teams. So that forced the Saints, who were a 2 seed, to not have a bye week. So they played that game against Chicago, and they lost Latavius Murray and Taysom Hill. Both of them not starters, but still good players. Guess who they had to play in the second round? They had to play the Buccaneers, who the Saints beat not once, but twice in the actual regular season. Okay? But they had to beat Tom Brady a third time, and they were rewarded with basically nothing for beating the Buccaneers twice during the regular season. Whereas during a normal NFL season, the Saints would have had a bye week before they had to play Tampa Bay, right? So, the more you expand it, now you can argue, well, adding the extra playoff team makes it more of an incentive to win first place. And if the Saints would have beaten Green Bay in the regular season, they would have gotten the number 1 seed. And that is a perfectly fine argument as well. But once again, when you stretch things out, it changes everything. It really does. Playoff expansion is a must. Disagree. I'm fine with 6 teams I think 6 would be the perfect number. I really do. All right. And I wouldn't call the NBA trash. I think the structure of it is trash. I really do. There's so many things they could do to make that sport way better. The sport that I grew up loving the most, right, was, obviously LSU football in the NBA. So, yeah. Well, all right, guys. I'm fine to keep this thing. I'm fine to keep this thing going. A Venmo, Cash App, or Super Chat. If not, we'll sign this thing off here in about 5 or so minutes. But once again, I don't mind keeping this thing going. Also, we are roughly 2 hours into it. You guys can ask me about anything outside of the realm of LSU football. So if you want to talk chicken wings, if you want to talk some Fernando Tatis Jr., if you want to chat some comedy, some music. I've been on an EDM kick recently. Not really much of a music guy, though. Bryce Young making $1 million in endorsements for him. That has as much to do with recruiting, if anything. I am also passionate about what happened to this Jets coach today. There's just too many automobile on human being accidents that happen. And, I don't own a car, but I try to, when I do drive, I try to be, cognizant of everyone on the road. It's just so easy to be distracted. And, it sucks, because I run a lot as well. What's up, Tony? Good to see you. So please be safe if you're behind the wheel. Once again, always remember, if you hit a pedestrian or a biker or a cyclist or whatever, they're going to be the ones that get hurt. playoffs should be the conference champions only. Disagreement there, simply because, because look, if the playoff were conference champions only, obviously last season's not the best example, but Oregon would have gotten in with some really bad losses. I mean, they lost to Oregon State, and I know Michael B. And sometimes I get distracted by my phone on the road as well. And I'm like, really? RB1 PJ, I'm going to roll with Emory for right now. Have you ever been to Slim Chickens? If so, can you compare it to something? Slim's is actually pretty good. I actually have no ill will towards any of the chicken finger places. Raising Cane's is obviously fire. A little more simpler of a menu, but you know what you're getting. Slim's, you can have some inconsistencies from Slim's locations all around, but I like Slim's. I really do. Zaxby's, I think, is fire. I really do think Zaxby's is good. Brody, that's a good question. I didn't actually touch on that comment from Ed Orgeron. I think it's good and bad. I obviously he should want the program to be what he wants it to be, and he should have stepped in more with Bo Pelini making these same mistakes week after week. With that said, Coach O should only step in if we start getting on disaster levels. And I think Kate Thomas, who's Kate Thomas? I'm curious I'm trying to figure out what that's reference to. But anyway, I do agree with you, Brody. Or excuse me. I do agree with Ed Orgeron saying he should step in when things become disaster. However, there are some head coaching philosophy differences that I think Ed Orgeron should change, right? And we're going to do a piece on this before the season. Chad, Aaron Rodgers is going to be with the Packers next season. But here's a good example of it. I thought LSU punted way too much. I thought they punted way too much in 2019 as well. So what happens? Okay, here we go. Let's go to Tony here. He did super chat. What do you think about Derek Singley being able to talk to the media? I don't think last year, Tony, it was Derek Singley not being able to talk to the media last year. I think it had more to do with Derek Singley not wanting to talk to the media. I think if Derek Singley wanted to talk to the media, LSU Relations would have made him available to speak to the media. So yeah, I think that's good. I do think it's good that Derek Singley speaking to the media, because I do think it does give the athletes some accountability. Because when you speak to the media, you are speaking on behalf of the entire team, right? So you got to be on your P's and Q's. So yeah, I think that's good. I like my best players to be the leaders. I like my best players to be the spokespeople of the team. And you look historically, most of LSU's best players were also their best leaders, from Tyrann Mathieu to Joe Burrow, or Devin White, whoever you want to mention. So yeah, that doesn't mean you have to be vocal. That doesn't mean you have to, be boisterous. Not everybody is, a Patrick Peterson type of leader. It just means you have to be a little more present. And I think sometimes, just based on the communication of the secondary, with the injuries and everything that Derek Singley Jr. was going through last season, he wasn't as locked in as he was in 2019. I think now we'll see the real Sting come out and be one of the best players in college football. So I think that's a really good thing. And obviously Stingley, he spoke well. He's great. He's great in interviews. So yeah, I just think it's better when your best players are speaking to the media. Let's go to Roman here. Excited to see all the blitz packages with all the two shutdown corners dominating D-line potential and safeties. I agree with you, Roman. I really am excited. I do think LSU safety play is going to be way better, Roman. I really do. I agree with you on that. simply based on philosophy. This goes back to our pass defense piece last week. For some reason, LSU kept rolling their safety into the box, and teams just kept picking on it, and they never switched it. I think if they make just that one philosophical switch, LSU wins one or two more games last year. So, yeah, I think that's going to be really key. Roman, I'm not going to lie, you are probably the biggest Derek Singley Jr. fan on this channel, and rightfully so. I think him and Elias Ricks are going to be ballers next season. Once again, if they're both locked in and healthy, they're going to be unbeatable. So we'll see. We'll see. I do think, as far as the blitzing is concerned, what's up, Sip G? Good to hear from you. Here we go, Esteban. Once again, if you bought a band tonight, just email me. We do have new Booger bands right here. 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. You get to wear what I wear. I wear this every single day. You guys see this in every single one of the videos. It is the same exact microphone cover right here. So Carl the cat, what's good? 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. If you do buy one, just send me your address and how many you did buy. The way you buy them is simply put, go to the Venmo Cash App right there. And guess what? And if you do get 3 for 20, I am throwing in an LSU card in there as well. I agree with you, Creek, for real. Chilling with the power hour. Let's go, Mick. So, yeah, Roman, I do think you're right on about the safety. I really do. And you're right on about the blitz packages. I-10, Roman, man, I love you so much. Dominating defensive line. Yeah, especially if LSU can get one of these true freshmen to pop. If they can get Savion Jones, Mason Smith, one of these guys to pop out. So, yeah, Sip, I agree with you. There is no debate with those two. Pro Football Focus has both of those players as top 10 players in college football. The only thing that annoys me, and it annoys me like crazy, is, and the Maxwell Award got this right, but they put everyone on the Maxwell list. If you put Derek Stingley Jr. on every top 10 list at every position, well, you better be like Pro Football Focus. Elias Ricks better not be that far behind. I don't get it. I don't. Elias Ricks was just as dominant as Derek Singley Jr. was in 2019, albeit in different ways. So, it's interesting, and it's crazy. McLaughlin might be the best, backup corner in college football as well. So it is very interesting. Got to give Corey Raymond a lot of credit there. So, Roman, let me know if that answers your question about the blitz packages. So, yeah, it should be fantastic. And Roman, this actually got a little bit deeper into pass coverages. I think you'd find that very interesting. You might have already watched it. But, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Jay Johnson, good stuff. I don't know enough about LSU baseball to talk about it, really. Let's see. I would be very sad the day Corey Raymond moves on. Michael B., I don't think he will, honestly. I honestly don't. And the reason why I don't think so is he would have done so already, right? He gets $600K to be a defensive backs coach. He knows he's always going to have great defensive backs at his disposal. I think if he wanted to be a DC or head coach somewhere, he would have already had that opportunity. So, yeah, I don't know when – I don't know what type of job he would leave for either, right? So, yeah. You know, and this is where he played. I mean, so yeah, I hope he never leaves. But I see what you're saying, Michael. Yeah, at some point. But if it is his promotion, then it would obviously be a DC or a head coach job. You're right about that, Sip G. Just got to keep everything in front of us. I thought about tonight. So I took the under in game, not this last game, but the game before. I took the under in game 4. Thought about taking the under again in game 6. I haven't been able to watch. I thought the Suns were going to slow this game down and dirty it up. I know some of you guys are probably watching in the background, so you know better than me. And I thought about parlaying that with the Suns. I didn't covering 5.5. So yeah. Let's see. How was the Max convo? It was good. We didn't touch too much on it other than Ed Orgeron basically saying it's basically even. And Sip G, you are one of the biggest Myles Brennan fans. So yeah. Well, all right, guys. Once again, we'll do this again. We're going to be here for a few more minutes. We'll keep this thing going if the super chats keep flowing in. It's truly amazing. One thing I find to be so fascinating is like how much, and it really blows my mind, how much the SEC is infatuated by Eric Gilbert. Like, legit, he's been the topic of conversation for legit months now. And it is unbelievable. Okay. It's unbelievable how many, like how much better my Eric Gilbert videos performed compared to some of my other videos. And of course, I would talk about him because, you know, he was such a big story with LSU. But yeah, you know, I don't quite get it. I think what happened is editors knew that Eric Gilbert generated a lot of clicks, which is why so many people ask questions about him. It's wild. Yeah, I know, Creek, but it's still just mind blowing. Like, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Pro Football Focus has Eric Gilbert rated as a higher wide receiver than Keishon Butte. And I'm like, what? Really? Yeah, Sip, it was, and Coach O took it well. You notice Coach O didn't kick on the graves of Dare Rosenthal or Eric Gilbert when he very well could have said, hey, these guys put our teams in really bad spots, especially when they both decided to leave. You know, he would have been totally justified in saying that, but he didn't say it. So I give Coach O a lot of credit for that. So, yeah. All right, guys. There you go, Esteban. I just got your email. So you will be in business. Once again, if you did buy a band tonight, make sure you email me your address. If not, we can get it cleared up by the next live stream. Once again, 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. And if you get the 3 for 20, I'm going to throw in an LSU card for this. And we already sold, and I think like 15 of these today, and there's probably only 25, 30 more in here. So go right on ahead. All right, guys. This was our video from earlier today. It is really fascinating. It's got an interesting hook to it. How Dan Mullen might have saved Walker Howard and Ed Orgeron a trip to the college football playoff. There is that link for you. Also, the best way, or one of the best ways to support the channel, is by rocking a t-shirt everywhere you go. That's the link to the t-shirt right there. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! Oh, we're doing lemon pepper chicken wings tonight. Let's go. Boom.